You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Rachel Christopherson. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at different issues, personalities, and events that affect you in our community. Bringing home a new pet is an incredible feeling, and adopting a pet from a shelter or rescue group is not only exciting, it's truly a feel-good experience. However, each year in the U.S., 2.7 million adoptable animals get put down simply because there are too many animals in shelters and too few people considering adoption when looking for a pet. This week, we are discussing the importance of animal adoption. We begin with Katie Pemberton, a community engagement specialist from Memphis Animal Services. Thank you for joining us today.
Of course.
Well, I want to start off by having you describe Memphis Animal Services because your division has gone through some changes.
Memphis Animal Services is the City of Memphis's animal control and animal sheltering agency. We are the only open admission shelter in the City of Memphis. What that means is we are the only shelter in the City of Memphis that no matter how full we are, we have to keep taking animals. We're required to, by city ordinance, take strays. And it doesn't matter if every kennel in the building is full, we have to keep taking strays. Now, as far as the changes that our division has seen, 5-6 years ago, I was out on the street protesting, and now I work at the shelter. 10 years ago, for example, like 17,000 animals came into the shelter in 2009, I think. 85% of those were euthanized. Last year in 2018, our save rate, our percent of animals that were saved, was 88%. So it's just completely flipped. It's completely turned around. When Mayor Strickland came into office as the mayor of Memphis, he made the animal shelter a priority. Our current director, Alexis Pugh, came on in summer of 2016, and she started with just some best practices, programs, implementing and bringing in some really experienced team members that could help just really increase those live outcomes.
Well, what type of animals come to your shelter?
Just about everything. The vast majority of our intake is dogs and cats, and it is about 80% dogs and 20% cats. But we also get, we've got pigs, guinea pigs, hamsters, chickens, roosters, horses, donkeys, goats. We got an alligator snapping turtle once. We get reptiles. Typically with those other kinds of animals, we are looking for placement immediately because a lot of times they require really specialized care, like especially reptiles. You know, they've got heat lamps and you have to make sure it's a certain temperature. And we just don't have that expertise. But we can sort of be that gateway for them for the next step.
Well, where do most of your animals come from?
About 80% of our intake is stray. The other, I would say, 15-ish% is owner surrenders, and another 5% would be confiscations from either cruelty or when people have been evicted and they've left the animal behind. We do have about 15 animal control officers that are out in the field responding to complaints and calls about loose dogs, animal cruelty, neglect, and those stray calls are the vast majority of our intake.
Well, moving on to the adoption process, is there such a thing as an ideal adopter?
For us, I think the ideal adopter is somebody who is really going to make that pet a member of their family. It doesn't really matter what their lifestyle is or what that family, how that family acts, if they're the same, if they do the same thing after work that I do. It just matters that that pet is going to be loved and that they're going to be cared for with their basic needs and certainly beyond. We really want that, and just for that pet to be a valued and loved and cherished member of the family.
Well, can you walk us through that adoption process?
Sure, yeah. We practice open adoptions, which is sort of a progressive shelter practice where we're not looking to deny people. We are looking to help people adopt pets. And so that's a conversational process that we do. We'll ask them questions, they'll ask us questions. We'll try to learn more about what they're looking for. And if we see any red flags, we'll talk to them about those red flags and try to guide them in a direction that maybe we think is more appropriate. But basically, you come see us. We're at 2350 Appling City Cove. We're open every day of the week from 12 to 4, plus until 7 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. What I recommend personally is that you have an idea kind of what you want from a relationship with the pet, and then you talk to the staff that work in that area and tell them what do you have kids, do you have other dogs, do you have cats, etc. Tell them kind of what you're looking for and let them make recommendations. What we see so many people do is walk through the kennels, find a dog they like the looks of, and make the decision based on that. And that is just about the least important thing about a pet that you're going to bring into your home for their entire lifetime. So I really recommend that you talk to the people that know those pets and get some recommendations and then go from there.
What do you think possible adopters should look for instead of looks in a pet?
Yeah, so it depends a lot on what your lifestyle is. Like I said, there's no wrong lifestyle, but your needs for a pet will vary greatly. If you're a runner, then you're probably going to want to get, not a senior dog, not a dog with like hip issues, arthritis issues, probably a young dog, not a puppy because they don't need to be running, but a young active dog who needs that exercise, who needs that stimulation. If you're more of a couch potato and you just come home and watch Netflix all night, maybe consider an older dog. And the same thing applies for cats as well, although you're not really taking your cats out on, 5K runs, but they do need exercise.
Well, what services come with an animal adoption?
Well, our adoption fees are $40 for an adult dog or cat and $80 for a kitten or a puppy or a small dog. And that includes for all of them spay, neuter, microchip, vaccines. There's a heartworm test for dogs and FIV and FELV test for cats. There's a collar and a leash and then a little customized ID tag. And recently, thanks to some grants from the Petco Foundation and PetSmart Charities, as well as individual donations, we're also able to include heartworm treatment into that adoption fee, which is just such a huge game changer for us because almost half of our adult dogs come in with heartworms, which it can cost like $1,000 to treat. So for so many adopters, there's no way, they can't do it. And so that dog would never have been considered by that adopter, and otherwise it might have been a great fit. So now we're able to offer that treatment in the adoption fee.
Well, toward the end of 2018, you did lower the adoption rate to $18. Why is this?
Yeah, we have adoption promotions throughout the year, and every year at the end of the year since I started, which was in 2016, we do like a race to, this year it was 7,000, where we set our goal of this is how many adoptions and rescue transfers we want to have by the end of the year, because we want to continue to see that number going up and up and up. And our first year we did it, it was 5,500. The next year it was 6,000, and this year we made a big jump to 1,000. And honestly, we didn't really think that we would hit it, but we were just like, we need to aim high and we'll just save a lot in the process. And we did, we exceeded it. We exceeded it by about 80. And so the reason for these reduced adoption fees, which is something that national animal welfare organizations recommend for progressive shelters that want to save lives, is not that people can't afford the regular adoption fee. It's that these types of events are able to be promoted, get on the news, get all over social media. They get people's attention and they get people in our shelter that maybe we're already kind of thinking about it, but we're like, yeah, now is a good time. I need to go ahead and do this. And they're very effective for us.
Well, you have said before that you think adoption for animals needs community involvement. How could this happen?
All of it needs community involvement. We took in like almost 9,000 animals in 2018. Those animals were not grown in the shelter. Those animals started out in the community and they came to the shelter. So spaying and neutering your pets That's number one. That is what it is, the law in Memphis. If you have a dog or cat, they must be spayed or neutered. So if they're not, then you could be contributing to pets dying in shelters because there's no space for them. So there's that. There is, we have several community organizations that have formed up around the shelter to try to save lives. Memphis Pets Alive, Friends of the Memphis Animal Shelter. And then there are also numerous rescue organizations that their mission is to save animals, whether that be in a shelter or just out in the community that need new homes. And so that's a little less than half of where our animals are going.
Well, Katie, we really appreciate all the work Memphis Animal Services has done for the community, and thank you for joining us today. Once we return from our short break, we will talk with an organization who not only keeps their animals safe, but also keeps them prepped for their new families.
Art is really an expression of the self. If you look at a piece of art, you can see the artist within it.
All just really depends on what I feel like doing at the time. I generally have different ideas every day.
I really get excited when my students come up to me with unique ideas that I've not heard of.
You can't let everybody tell you who you are or what your art is or how to be what you want to be.
I really let the students go according to how they're progressing, and I try to give them as much as they're able to handle.
Well, I like drawing a lot, and I like painting, and I like being able to improve my skill and show people my art.
I try to get them to think creatively. I think that's one of the few things that we as teachers really need to try to push with our students.
I can't sing. I can't act either, but I can do art, so that's why I chose art.
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm Rachel Christopherson. This week we are focusing on the joys of animal adoption. And with me now is an organization that specializes in rescuing cats from the streets. Ann Ilsley is from Mewtopia Cat Rescue. Ann, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
And also welcome to our furry friend.
This is Chris. Chris wanted to come too.
Well, is Chris up for adoption?
He is. He's up for adoption, and he has a brother looking for a home also.
Wow. Well, I'm sure many people have heard of Utopia, but can you give us a brief overview of its mission?
Yes, we've been in Memphis since for 18 years. And we get all kinds of kitties from all different walks of life, and we find them nice, happy homes.
Well, how do you find these animals?
Oh, we don't have to find them. We get many calls a day, either people that have become ill. A lot of people find out that little kittens grow up to be adult cats and no longer want them. We get a lot of products of divorce. A lot of ours are stray also. A lot of people drop cats off at our front door when we're closed, as were he and his brothers.
Well, while Mewtopia does have a physical location, is there any kind of foster program or care program?
Well, we did have that. We're at 1010 South Yates. We're right at Poplar and Yates, and we mainly have a foster system amongst our volunteers. We are all volunteers. We have no paid employees at Mewtopia, so everybody that's there wants to be there and be with the kitties. And so we mainly just have the foster program through our volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Well, you did talk about how they're all volunteers. What are some of the benefits that volunteers receive for donating their time?
Oh, the most important thing is getting the love from the kitties and seeing how happy they are. We have cleaning crews come in every morning, and they say they can't wait to finish doing all their work so they can stick around a couple of hours and play with the kitties and love on the kitties. Our place is just a very happy place. Most of the animals are not in cages. They're just walking around freely.
Well, how important are these volunteers to your organization?
Oh, there would be no Mewtopia without our volunteers. They make Mewtopia. And we have a very happy place, upbeat, clean, happy place. So all the volunteers, I take my hat off to them.
Well, you are a nonprofit organization.
We are a nonprofit.
Where does most of your funding come from?
Strictly from donations. we have a donation for the kitties. We don't have a set donation, a set adoption fee. We also have a little retail shop where we have some of our people make things that we sell in the retail shop. And then we have nice people that just donate to Mewtopia.
Well, how does Mewtopia make sure that the adoption process is fun for the adopters, but also thorough?
Well, we do. We have an application that we go over with. We have the children 10 and under must come in so that we see them with the kitties. I think there's a cat for every kid, but a lot of times the parents think that the little kids go with little cats, and a lot of times that's not who it is. So we kind of work with them so that the cats and the people, everybody are happy.
Well, how important is it to match the right cat to the right person?
Oh, very important, very important. We want the cat to leave and be happy. We want the people to be happy, and we don't want to see them come back and say, this just didn't work out. So we try to get it right the first time, although if it doesn't, we'll take the kitty back, no questions asked.
Well, have there ever been instances of someone not enjoying or liking the cat and bringing them back?
In all of our years, probably less than 10.
Wow, that's impressive. What all does that adoption fee cover that you were talking about?
That includes their testing for AIDS and leukemia. There is feline leuk and feline AIDS. That's only for cats. It doesn't affect dogs or people or anybody. A minimum of their first shots, ear treatment, flea treatment, spaying and neutering.
Well, how can people in the Memphis community get involved with Mewtopia?
Oh, well, they can go on our website, which is Mewtopia1@gmail, or they can call us at 901-503-9328, or they can come by and visit us at our shop. We're there Tuesday through Thursday, 12 until 4. Friday, 12 until 2, and Saturday, 12 until 4.
Well, Ann, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And also to Chris.
Oh, Chris says thanks.
We have to take one final break, but stay put. When we come back, find out about the care your pet should and needs to receive once the adoption papers are signed.
If the children of the world.
Every day is different, you know? Every day is a new piece of music.
1-5-1-5-3-5-2-5.
It's a large program. We have 3 full choral ensembles, a women's chorus, chorale, which is about 55 students, and our chamber choir, which is about 18.
There have been lots of opportunities to audition, which have encouraged me to be more confident with myself and really put myself out there.
I really enjoyed my time being in choir, especially here at Germantown, because I feel like there's something special about this particular school.
I like them to walk into my room and feel as though they are free to experiment with sounds.
How beautiful can you make German? That's the challenge.
We always say that we're a school of excellence, and I feel that that really shows in performances, because we're all so focused in trying to reach our goals.
We're running a 24-hour broadcast television station like no other school has done.
It is student run, it is student produced, it is student written, and it's student directed.
Here's to another 35 more years.
Students here get immersed in lots of different types of shows so that when they go out into the real world or to college, if this is what they want to pursue, they are so prepared.
Those lessons have also affected me in the ways that I would never even imagine.
It has shown me to be different and to, not settle for mediocrity. When you're producing a show, you want your show to be the best one it can be. You want it to be a show to remember, a show that you want to look back on and say, I did that.
Yes, I did do this. Did I believe that I could do this? No, but because of all the support that I gained, I know that I can actually get this done.
I know that the skills I've learned here is something I'm never going to forget, and same with the experiences here.
From all of us here at GHS-TV, have a great day.
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Rachel Christopherson. After you've adopted an animal, you need to make sure they stay healthy. It's important to have a veterinarian who can diagnose, treat, and care for your furry friend. To talk more about animal care is veterinarian Dr. Grace Gordon from McGehee Clinic for Animals. Dr. Gordon, thank you for joining us today. Well, for someone who has just adopted a pet, how important is it to have a dedicated veterinarian on speed dial?
Yeah, so it's really important to start to establish the client, animal, and veterinarian bond. So if something goes wrong later, you can always, you have trust in someone and you know where you can come. It's really important to come right after you adopt an animal just to see if your pet is healthy, and if they're not healthy, see what you need to do down the road.
Well, you do offer a wide-ranging list of services, including acupuncture. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, so we have some interesting methods. There are a lot of new things that we're coming up with in veterinary medicine that have been explored in human medicine over the years. There's a lot of good evidence that things like acupuncture can actually improve an animal's life and mobility and things like that.
Well, how have you seen those services affect your animals?
So usually we have acupuncture for animals that have some sort of mobility issue like paralysis or back problems. And actually I've seen an animal that was paralyzed in the back end come back and be able to walk at the end of treatment. So things can really improve.
Well, what are some of the more common ailments that you see in animals after they're adopted?
Yeah, so usually we're actually getting young animals, so they don't have many problems yet, but something big that we see is heartworm disease, which I know we've talked about already today, but heartworm disease is a big thing in Memphis. It's spread by mosquitoes, and we actually have resistant mosquitoes here that carry a form of the heartworm disease that isn't always covered by the heartworm prevention that we have. So it's really important to get tested every year just to make sure that the animal doesn't have heartworms despite treatment, or prevention, excuse me.
Well, how is your clinic fighting against this huge issue in Memphis?
Yeah, so it's really important to get your animal on monthly prevention every single month. Even in wintertime, people think that mosquitoes are gone, but they're not, especially in Memphis, because we have these hot snaps like right now. It was like 60 degrees last week and 30 now, but mosquitoes are still here, so it's important to continue every month.
Well, how does your clinic diagnose and treat your furry patients?
Yeah, so heartworm disease is detected is just a blood test, and usually we send out yearly blood work just to see how your animal is doing, and that checks things like your kidneys and liver and a bunch of other tests too. So,
well, what type of animals does your veterinarian clinic serve, and how does care for these animals differ?
So we're primarily a small animal clinic with mostly cats and dogs. We do have one veterinarian that likes exotic animals, so like your pocket pets and birds and things like that. I personally don't see those, but cats and dogs are great. So.
Well, can you talk about your experience with those cats and dogs?
Yeah, so we have a wide range of services that we offer. So it's always great to see an animal go from being a puppy until their senior years. It's lovely to follow all of that through and just get to know the patient and the owners.
Well, do you deal with behavior problems, or is it strictly medical?
So we try to deal with behavior problems. That's usually something that we refer to either a behaviorist or a dog trainer. We'll help on the front end, but that usually takes intensive work to get behavior problems out of the way. A lot of behavior problems stem from not being enriched enough, either mentally or physically. So if you just leave your dog alone all day in your house and don't do anything with it when you get home, then of course they're going to act out and start having problems.
Well, do you usually form bonds with your animal patients?
Yeah, of course we do. There's some patients that I get super excited to see. I'm like, oh yay, they're coming back. They're kind of like part of my family eventually too. So,
well, are there any circumstances where you do not accept animals into your hospital, and why or why not?
I can't think of a situation where we wouldn't accept someone. Of course, the ability to pay is important, but even if someone can't pay, we try to do the best that we can for them.
Well, when owners are away, they often place their animals in animal hospitals like yours for the time that they're gone. And what services does your hospital offer for those people?
Yeah, so we usually have a boarding facility where most people stay. Sometimes we'll do their annual exam while they're there. If something goes wrong while they're boarding, like they get sick or they hurt themselves, which is really uncommon, of course we're there to treat them.
Well, what assurances do the owners have that their pets will be taken care of?
Yeah, so we've been in the community for more than 50 years. McGehee Clinic has been helping animals for a really long time. So I think that's part of the assurance that we have. And plus, all the animals that we board are our clients' animals. So they already know us and trust in us to take care of their pets.
Well, how much autonomy does your animal hospital have over those animals that you're caring for?
So if something goes wrong while the client is gone, we'll of course start treating them and we'll call them right away. If we can't get a hold of them, we do the best that we can for them while they're in our clinic.
Well, is it important to also establish a connection with the owner of the animals?
That's actually right up there with treating animals. If the client doesn't trust us, then or doesn't have a bond with us, then you're not getting the full experience, and you're not having everything that you should out of the experience.
Well, the McGehee Clinic is certified by the American Animal Hospital Association. What standards do you have to get that certificate, and what does it mean to your patients?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of things that you have to do to be part of the what we call AHA Association. They come every couple of years and evaluate us. So it's a matter of the services that we offer, the level of care that we provide, and just have the way that we communicate with people. So one of our primary goals is client communication and education. So we want people to know what's best for their animals so they can do the best for them.
Well, how does your clinic educate people?
Yeah, so every vet visit is a dialogue. You ask questions, we teach people what they need to know, and we always offer advice anytime anyone needs that. So,
well, how important is that to your entire business?
That's pretty much is the business. Animals are like 90%, but then you got to consider the fact that all those animals are owned by someone. The relationships that we have with the people are one of the most important parts of that.
Well, how have you seen your clinic change the community of Memphis since it's been open?
Yeah, so we provide a really necessary service. I think without us, animals would be getting diseases that they didn't necessarily need to get. We vaccinate all the animals. We provide heartworm and flea and tick prevention. We treat any animal that's sick. So I think that's a huge impact.
Well, can you talk about the history of your clinic?
Yeah, so our current owner is Norris McGehee. He's been in practice for over 30 years, and before him, it was owned by his uncle. So it's been a family business. We're a very small clinic. It's privately owned, which is something that's changing in the vet world these days. A lot of places are becoming big practice ownership. So I think it's great that we're still a family practice.
Well, why do you think it's important to have a small veterinarian clinic?
Yeah, so I think it's just important because you have better communication, and I think that it's a more personal relationship than just like the big business that you see. And everything is personalized to that care of that animal rather than just a set formula for things.
Well, what's your favorite part about working with those animals?
It's great to just form that bond and see them through their life. I think that that's an amazing thing that we get to see. Seeing them from their first puppy visits at 4 to 8 weeks old, and then seeing them when they're 15 years old. It's an amazing experience.
Well, Dr. Gordon, thank you for talking with us today.
Yeah.
Not only do animals give you unconditional love, but they have shown to be psychologically, emotionally, and physically beneficial to their companions. By adopting, it means that each time you look into your pet's eyes, you can feel good knowing that you truly did save a life. That's all the time we had today. Remember, Crosstalk can be seen each week at 9:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Mondays and Thursdays, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 a.m. and 12 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Sundays. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we are streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Rachel Christopherson. From all of us at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.